We all have our own idea of our dream home. Yet these days, the chance of buying it can seem remote.
It's a pretty looking house, isn't it?
Very much the kind of thing that we'd be looking for. You know, it's still really not affordable.
But what if you really need more space?
We use this as a sitting room, a dining room, a kitchen. It just simply doesn't work anymore with a family.
In this series, I'm going to prove you can get more house for less money.
So you're going to try and create your dream home out of your own house that's as good as this, but is going to cost half the amount of money.
Yeah.
It is possible to double the size of your house for half the cost of moving to your dream house.
But you must follow the basic rules.
We're going to be those people that ignore the expert.
Then
You can get more space without breaking the bank and turn a much lesser home into the home of your dreams. Just by clever digging down, converting or extending, even the most modest-looking property can be turned into the most spectacular dream home. I'm going to let you see into the future. Does it look a bit like this?
Wow, yeah, that's just about it.
Brilliant, yeah. Sarah's been a real motivation and a help.
And think if you extend your own home, you won't have to pay stamp duty or moving costs or an unaffordable mortgage.
God, I think you're absolutely mad to have such a beautiful room as a gym.
And I will show you the shortcuts that can save you time and money.
So you saved money on the conveyor belt and you also sold the flagstones, didn't you?
Yeah.
So you can create the home of your dreams the way you want it.
Gosh, how wonderful. This really is a magnificent open plan space.
Britain's homeowners, you need not be content with what you've got. Many modest four walls can be reshaped to adapt to changing needs and dreams.
Recent research has shown that most of us live in homes that are 25% smaller than they really need to be to work well for the way we live today. Basically, we need more room in our rooms.
I'm with two homeowners hoping to save cash by doubling their space for half what it would cost them to buy their unaffordable dream home. Lindsay Adams in Lincolnshire wants to extend her pokey kitchen and dining room and transform her modern estate home.
So you want a new lease of life for the house and
Yes.
you and...
Revamp it and revamp me, yeah.
But first I'm off to Buckinghamshire to meet the Croft Bakers. They lived happily in London for 10 years until life suddenly changed 18 months ago.
Once we had children, we kind of wanted a different type of life. Having been brought up in the countryside where I could play freely, it was important for me to try and find a place that my children could do that too.
So Louise and Ed searched long and hard for a country home they could afford for their family. Katie, now 4, and Jack, who's 2.
We really wanted to be able to feel the sense of kind of countryside around us.
They found this £500,000 3-bed Victorian cottage in an idyllic setting. But like many period houses, although it looks enormous on the outside, inside the rooms are pokey and space feels tight.
Do you see any bars out there, Jack?
No.
For us, it's quite small at the moment, but we could see kind of the opportunity to develop it into hopefully our dream home.
Louise and Ed now desperately want to double the footprint of their cottage. It's the only way they can get the space they want, given the fantasy property prices in this particular area.
Hello, hi. And you turned the sun on. Thank you very much. That's much appreciated.
Just a few miles from their house, a house the size they'd like would cost Ed and Louise an eye-watering £800,000.
That's gorgeous.
This 4-bedroom period cottage is 1,900 square feet, twice as big as theirs.
It's just a beautiful house to look at, but also it's got the space inside. We want to have like a bedroom each for the children and a room for guests to come and a separate playroom.
What you're really wanting is a cottagey, traditional feel, but with a sense of space as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're asking for a lot.
Here are the sums. To sell up and move to their £800,000 dream home, they'd need to find an extra £340,000. but they have less than half that.
So you've got about half as much money as you need
Exactly.
to be able to get the house you really want.
Yeah.
The layout of their current home is claustrophobic. Downstairs, the living room and kitchen and hall have low ceilings and feel dark and pokey. Upstairs, their bathroom and 3 bedrooms are all small. The cottage is now empty. The family have moved out ready for work to begin, which means we can get a really clear look at the space.
I mean, this would have been really quite a good-sized farm worker's cottage when it was built, and yet nowadays we're looking for different things from our lives.
It makes us feel a bit spoilt when we're sort of talking about making a big home, and quite frankly, grateful to have any space. But
But having said that, this is about your dream home. This isn't about a home that'll do, is it? This is currently the sitting room. Yeah, this is they're probably lower ceilings than you normally have nowadays in a house, but it's funny actually, because over 100 years ago they would have all been shorter, wouldn't they?
That's true.
Luckily we're not a tall family.
Neither am I, so we're all laughing.
It's pretty compact and bijou. And when you've got like tables and chairs and sofas and with 2 small children, there's nowhere, and a dog, there's nowhere really to run. Apart from to bang your head on the table.
So you're really doing this for the future, aren't you? You're doing this to make this work for your family as they grow.
Yeah.
To improve the house, their idea is to build a huge 2-storey extension at the side, doubling their floor space. Upstairs, a new master ensuite will be created from scratch. While downstairs, the new extension will house a spacious open-plan kitchen and dining area. Opening off that, there's a combined study and playroom with double doors opening onto a patio at the back. They've got £150,000 to spend, which is tight but just about enough for their existing plans. However, their focus is mainly on the interior, and I don't think they've fully taken into account the outside space, which personally I think is going to be a massive challenge to their budget.
It's a lovely, lovely cottage, but before you even start looking at the house itself, the first thing you really need to look at with a house like this is that.
But the garden also came with a built-in potential death trap for children, a 2-metre sheer drop.
As a mother of small children, I would be terrified of having my small children running around up here while I was buried downstairs in the kitchen with this vertical drop. I know one of my kids would take about 15 minutes to roll down here and end up in casualty with a broken arm.
Whatever Ed and Louise do with their build, fixing this lethal landscaping will obviously have to be a top priority.
I'd never be able to relax with my kids in that garden.
It's terrifying.
You need that 2-metre drop to not be slap bang outside the house.
I've got a radical plan that will make the garden totally safe and maximise the potential of this property. I want them to attach the house to the garden at first floor level. This would make the ground floor less than ideal as living space, but they could flip the conventional layout upside down.
If you turned the house the other way up, so that you had all the living rooms on the first floor and the bedrooms on the ground floor, I do think you could have, instead of a nice house, you could have a sensational house. I mean, really mind-blowingly amazing.
Upside down living might sound unusual, but there's a logic to it. You don't need amazing views from your bedroom, which you mostly use at night, but having your living area and kitchen upstairs will give you natural light and your best views where you'll enjoy them most.
For Ed and Louise, changing their design is about so much more than just views. It's about making their house work for them and, crucially, making it safe for the kids. They may only have a £150,000 budget, but they really can't afford to scrimp on this.
Immediately after, we were kind of almost...
Speechless, I think would be the word.
Yeah, sort of a bit shell-shocked by the bombshell.
The beanie bombshell.
The beanie bombshell. And a bit kind of, oh, that's a good idea, how annoying.
How did we miss that?
Yeah.
Louise and Ed have lots to think about. And while I let the dust settle in Buckinghamshire, I'm going over to Stamford in Lincolnshire to meet Lindsay Adams. Lindsay has deep emotional ties to her £190,000 home, which she bought with husband Damien 14 years ago. Moving to a new house with the space she wants would cost her another £100,000, but even if she could afford it, she's not going anywhere.
I didn't think I'd ever get married. I think I'm about 4 foot tall and Damien was nearly 6 foot. 14.5 stone of muscle. Yes. When we bought this place, it was incredibly exciting. You know, our first property together.
But in 2002, Lindsay's life was shattered.
He set off normally in the morning about 6:30 and had a knock at the door about 9 o'clock, and I saw 2 policemen there. Instantly, I just knew there had been an accident involving another vehicle, and unfortunately Damien had been killed instantly. It turned my life absolutely upside down. Millie, come on!
Lindsay's kept the house exactly as it was when Damien died. But 10 years on, she's ready to make some changes to get her home working much better for her.
I actually was born with a chondroplasia, which is known really as dwarfism. Might not be able to reach it at all, actually. No, I can't reach it. I do have some challenges getting into some of the high cupboards. You're up the step, down the step, back up the step, get down the step. That's just making a drink.
She loves cooking and entertaining and wants a large, open-plan kitchen diner.
To be able to bring out my culinary delights in a lovely environment would just be great.
A home isn't just a building you live in. It has history and sentimental associations. This is why extending isn't just about creating extra space, it's about making that space work for your life.
Lindsay is planning a very common home extension, extending at the back of the house and doubling the size of her kitchen and dining room, opening them out onto the garden with full-length bifold doors. Lindsay's spending all her savings of £40,000, and like many of us, she's daunted by the big new decisions she faces, like choosing a builder.
The main confusion is the builder's quotes. This one here is £18,500, and the latest one received this morning is nearly £51,000. It just is so confusing.
Lindsay really wants to get this right.
It's the home I love, so not doing a good job on it will really break my heart.
It's her first build project, it's all her money, and it's very emotional. She has so much at stake. In Buckinghamshire, Louise and Ed have decided against turning the house upside down, which would make not only the most of their views, but also resolve their hillside death trap. Instead, they think they found another solution.
One of the things we thought would help would really be a terraced effect, so that it's kind of graduated. We are hoping to introduce a little fence at the top, just to kind of reduce the risk. It seems a good solution.
Hopefully Sarah will see this as a good compromise.
It's good they're thinking about the problem, but terracing with sharp corners is not child-friendly. But at least they've made a decision, just in time as building work is starting on their huge 2-storey extension. But is it going to be an uphill struggle?
Well, this is an interesting one. The logistics of getting the toilet onto the site. We're trying to get it past this heap of soil. Are you sure Howard's not inside? Hazards of the job, as I call it. It's all good fun.
This is a little setback they can laugh off. But old buildings often throw up big problems, and I hope Ed and Louise are ready for the ride.
Both applied for £15,000 loans.
Any kidneys you're selling or anything like that as well?
That could be next.
I'm with 2 households doubling the size of their properties. If they stay on the straight and narrow, they should end up with homes that are bigger and work better for them, all for half the cost of buying their dream home.
Ed and Louise Croft-Baker are spending £150,000 on doubling the size of their house, taking an old country cottage and adding on a huge modern extension. Let's hope they get this tricky mix right and stay on budget.
I like the fact that the toilet roll holder's still on the wall.
Near Lincoln, Lindsay Adams has £40,000 to spend on her kitchen extension. But she's so scared of making the wrong decisions on her build.
The biggest concern is that I'm going to be ripped off.
That she's not making any decisions at all.
and they'll walk away with my money and leave me with just a disaster.
I think lots of us can relate to how Lindsay feels. It can be really daunting taking on a big project, but she somehow does need to find the confidence to be able to do it.
And that's something I'm hoping to be able to help her with.
Hello. Hi. Nice to meet you. I can't wait to see your house.
She needs to start believing in herself, choose a builder and get on with this project.
So talk me through what the plans are.
The plan is to extend the entire back of the house.
So all this area here will go out into the garden.
That's right.
It'll make a big difference, actually. So this will be a big dining area, and then the kitchen in here.
Because this wall is going to be coming out, it'll quite literally just double the space in here.
Kitchen extensions are top of the list for most people improving their houses. And the most sought-after design is the open-plan kitchen diner. These suit our modern, informal style of cooking and eating. Lindsay wants her galley kitchen to feel less claustrophobic and has a practical reason for wanting to change her windows.
Obviously the height level here, I can't really see out the window unless I'm kind of stood on my box here.
Yeah, that's rubbish, isn't it, actually?
And it won't feel quite so claustrophobic as it does at the moment.
Where do you see yourself when it's all done? What's your kind of vision of the future?
Oh, the vision I think is that to once again be able to open my doors and let family and friends just walk in and enjoy this space and entertain them.
So you want to entertain family and friends,
yes,
and have a kind of new lease of life for the house and you and
revamp it and revamp me. Yeah.
Lindsay might know what she wants, but she's being held up by her fear of choosing the wrong builder. I want to see how well she communicates what she wants, so we've arranged a site meeting.
Well, best of luck with it.
Okay, thank you.
I'll wait upstairs.
Hello, come on in. This whole current exterior wall will be coming out. One set of bifolding doors this side and then the other over there.
I think she's really clear about what she's wanting.
So far we've got the planning permission through and this is the structural engineer's report for it. But is it possible you can give a rough estimate?
Top of my head, looking 25 to 26,000.
Right.
That's good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye.
I think you're in full control of this site. I don't know what makes you think you can't do this. That was brilliant.
If you're also trying to find a good builder, ask for at least 2 references and follow them up. Get a full written quote. Try to avoid cash payments and always get an invoice as proof of payment.
Running a build successfully means you need to be confident about what you want and what it'll cost. The basic rule is do your research. When you ask the same questions and keep getting the same answers, you'll know you've done enough. 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yes.
Now that's diligence. 7 quotes.
I think Lindsay's found it easier to keep getting quotes instead of starting the build.
This is 34 including VAT.
Yes.
It's 37 including VAT. The reality is, if you've got most of the quotes around 35 is what it's going to cost.
So now it's time to conquer her fears and start.
The new Lindsay.
It is.
And is that exciting?
It's exciting, scary.
Do it, do it, do it.
For more information about extending your house or increasing your floor space, check out my scrapbook at channel4.com/Sarah. In Buckinghamshire, work is underway on Ed and Louise's vast development. They're supersizing their Victorian cottage, adding a 2-storey extension, an extra bedroom and a new kitchen diner, doubling their floor space to 1,900 square feet. Their budget of 150 grand should be enough to complete their home, as long as there are no expensive surprises. But 3 weeks into their 4-month build, their dreams are taking a severe beating.
So let's get our resistance meter across the wall. That is pretty high.
100 years of moisture has made the house very damp.
That's off the scale virtually. Downstairs I would expect a cost to fully rectify it of about £5,000 to £6,000.
That's £5,000 or £6,000 they haven't budgeted for. And upstairs, site manager Gunter has discovered a problem with the old lime plaster.
One little finger.
The plaster is falling off in every room.
Come on, baby.
Replastering the whole house will cost another £6,000.
Foolishly, we haven't got reserves for the project. It's a bit nerve-wracking.
And things aren't smelling so sweet outside either.
Oh, I just got a whiff of it. That's disgusting.
So we just found out from our next door neighbour, our septic tank's officially kaput. It needs to be fixed urgently, unfortunately.
A new septic tank takes their projected overspend to about £18,000 and counting.
It's pretty rancid.
If you're refurbishing a period house, find out if it's listed or in a conservation area. This could affect what you could do to the property. Source as much as possible from salvage yards. It'll save money and add interest. And put aside a healthy contingency. There are bound to be unforeseen problems.
Repairing old buildings is always expensive and often involves a lot more work than you expect. You need to budget accordingly. This is a lesson that Ed and Louise are learning the hard way.
I don't know where we're going to get the money from, though, to be honest. It's not insignificant cost implications.
In fact, it's quite significant.
It's time for a strong drink and an emergency budget meeting. With no contingency fund, they need to make some urgent decisions on where they can make savings.
Can't do anything there. We need a roof. When we set about doing the project, it was all about a dream. And now it's about the reality of how we're going to afford to do this.
What about here?
Ed and Louise are thinking of ditching the terracing to cut costs.
4, 5, 6, 7.5 grand maybe.
But they will need to come up with a solution for that 2-metre drop anyway.
The only thing is, if we're going to take out landscaping, the kids can't be in the garden with that drop. I can see Sarah now saying, but you haven't resolved that problem.
Got to roll with the punches, and that's the way
She's going to punch.
Yeah.
This decision does really worry me. So I'm on my way to Louise and Ed's to find other ways they can save money on this build.
I think putting off the landscaping until a later date would be a massive mistake with 2 tiny children. I mean, Louise and Ed are going to have to follow them around all the time. Hardly ideal. Hairy round here, isn't it? God, it's like an ice skating rink.
Yeah.
And I think at this stage you need to be open to any possibility of saving some money.
One way to save £6,000 would be to abandon the idea of replastering and make a feature out of their handmade Victorian bricks.
And the bricks themselves are quite pretty bricks. So one option is you leave it exposed and you repoint it yourself. Have you pointed before?
I'm pointing at it.
Exposed brickwork is a great way of blending old and new. It works really well when you're adding an extension to a period house. You can make sure your contemporary new space has some traditional character and charm. You can have the best of both worlds. If Ed and Louise can renovate their brick walls themselves, they'll make some great savings. I've asked site manager Gunter to give Ed some pointers on pointing.
How difficult do you think it is to learn to point?
It's just a general knack. This is a good wall to practice on, predominantly because it's going to be demolished.
The wall's coming down, so it's fine.
I'm going into the wall, is that correct?
No, you want to be going at 45 degrees and pulling the mortar joint out of the joint.
Ed may not be a natural DIYer, but repointing the outside walls himself would save another £3,000. A total saving of £9 grand, although it could take some time.
One of the keys is to not feel you need to make it too smooth at this stage. You're better off with it slightly overfilled and to brush it off.
Exactly right. One sweep, that's perfect. Now, quick flick of the wrist round and in. Great.
I reckon you'll have the house done by
I reckon.
2050.
Yeah.
I don't think Ed's going to put anyone out of a job here, but if he does master it, he'll save himself some money. It's 7 weeks into the 4-month build and the extension is taking shape.
Intrepid explorer, young man.
On the ground floor, Louise and Ed are planning to combine a home office with the kids' playroom, which has got to be madness. They'll never get any work done.
You grab that.
Okay, yeah.
I think their layout needs proper thought, and I'm going to use some technical wizardry to try and convince them to change their plans.
This room at the moment is your guest room.
That's
isn't
right,
it?
yeah.
At the moment, there's a wall going along here, and this piece of wood represents the wall. Is that how you picture it, the room?
Wow,
Would be
look at that.
this fantastic view. The bedroom itself is going to be quite small, and it's one of the finest views in the house. So I had an idea that I wanted to talk to you about. Leave the wall down, don't build it, it'll save you 400 quid. Have this as an open plan office landing.
Yeah, it'd be great to look out over the fields. Amazing.
Yeah, that would be such a nice office.
Having an open plan study instead of a bedroom will make better use of their space and save them much needed money.
Something we never thought of.
And for total flexibility, if they want this space to double up as a guest room, they could use folding doors to create a bedroom wall across the landing.
Another Beeny bombshell that we might listen to.
That would be amazing. In Lincolnshire, Lindsay is about to take the first step in building her extension.
I feel very, very nervous about it. David will be looking down now and saying, go girl, get it done. Enjoy it.
After weeks of deliberating, she's finally made that all-important decision and chosen a builder.
Hello Alex, it's Lindsay Adams. Right down in here, it's like, oh goodness me, what am I doing? I'd like to be able to offer you the build.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Yes?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. I'm really scared. Look forward to seeing you too. You too. Bye-bye. Bye. It's done.
I'm so pleased Lindsay's taken the plunge, but this is just the first of many decisions she'll now have to make.
Oh.
And any delays will cost her money now the clock has started ticking.
It's all going to change now. It is real.
I'm with two households aiming to double their homes without breaking the bank. In Buckinghamshire, Ed and Louise's extension should save them a massive £190,000 on what it would cost them to move to a bigger place. But halfway through their 4-month build, they're facing a financial nightmare. Unforeseen costs have pushed them 18 grand over budget, with no contingency.
When we got into this, we definitely didn't realise the scale of what we were getting into.
I'm somewhat relieved to see they are now chipping away at the debt by doing some of the jobs themselves.
I thought I'd just come here today and do my bit, you know. It all helps.
It does help, but more drastic measures will be needed. In Lincolnshire, Lindsay's £40,000 kitchen extension is due to take 11 weeks. I'm worried she's not making decisions fast enough, which could cost her dearly now work has begun.
The builder's now sorted, so that's the main big mountain out the way, I think. But you sort of take your foot off the pedal and now realise in about 4 weeks' time I'm going to need to put a kitchen in, which I haven't actually sourced yet.
Remember, choosing a kitchen takes a lot of time and involves a lot of choices. And even once the decision has been made, you still need to allow at least 4 to 6 weeks for it to actually arrive.
It's 2 weeks into Lindsay's build, and not only has she not ordered her kitchen, but she still needs to design it.
Now, I brought you here because it would be really great to get some inspiration as to exactly what you want to do with your kitchen.
I don't want it to be adapted so much. It just works for me. I do have a lot of friends and family. I want it to work for me, but not totally look adapted.
Wise move. Designing a kitchen purely around your own needs could knock value off your home if you ever want to sell. But making a compromise and choosing a kitchen that works for you and a future buyer will add value. I'm showing Lindsay some kitchen features that will work brilliantly for her and for anyone else too.
So now this can be raised right up or right down.
Wow.
This is really genius, actually.
Well, it's just to stand and not go up and down. And this does the up and downing. I like it.
I think this is an amazingly flexible and useful way of having a kitchen. So this is really brilliant because it opens with one hand and then with the other hand and come down.
It's ideal for me.
And if you can't reach the cupboards, think about buying automated ones.
Wow. Oh, gosh.
The great thing about a mechanism like this is that when you do come to sell a house at some point, there are lots and lots of people who would find it much easier to not have to stretch up to high-level cupboards.
Lindsay seems inspired, but bespoke units cost extra, so she'll have to prioritise. And her build won't wait. So I hope she'll make some quick decisions. If you're planning a kitchen, the golden rules for money saving are: design around your existing power points and drainage. Keep your existing cupboards, just update the doors and worktops. And check the lead time on your units. If your builder's waiting for your kitchen, it will cost you. In Buckinghamshire, the project deadline of 4 months is nearly up, but all the setbacks mean it's going to take at least 4 more weeks. Their £150,000 budget is already £20,000 over and growing every day. Sacrifices will have to be made.
I was chatting with a friend the other day who said you can't complain about not having any money when you've got the car that we've got. That made us really think, so we're going to sell the car.
Swapping their Porsche for something more modest will bag them at least £5,000. But that's a drop in the ocean. They are now wildly over.
We're probably talking in a region of having to raise, I don't know, about £50,000. It's things that we've wanted to do extra. We've wanted to get a certain spec of kitchen. We're looking at putting solar tiles on the roof, triple glazed windows.
Triple glazing and solar tiles may save them cash in the long term and add value, but they're spending money now they just haven't got.
We've both applied for £15,000 loans. We probably, to a certain degree, are burying our heads in the sand a little bit.
I worry, though, that they are forgetting a fundamental rule of extending. Set a budget and stick to it.
Is that a loan each at £15,000?
Yes.
Okay. So, any kidneys you're selling or anything like that as well?
That could be next.
And I know it's your dream house, but you sort of have to cap the dream in a way.
You just want to make sure that we put things in that last, basically.
Letting the money run away with you can end you up in a very, very hard place. You know, you can go broke along the way. At the budget end of things, just get it finished and get a line drawn under it.
It's such an important message. Going deeper and deeper into debt is no way to add value to your home or your life. For more information about extending your house or increasing your floor space, check out my scrapbook at channel4.com/Sarah. In Lincolnshire, Lindsay has managed to order her kitchen in time.
I think it's going to be so nice. I'm not going to cook in it at all, and I'll live on pizza.
After 6 weeks, her builders are ready to demolish the wall between her old home and the new extension.
Even though I'm stood here in it, it's still a bit surreal.
This means putting away many of the reminders of her old life with husband Damien.
Copies of my marriage certificate.
And looking ahead to her future.
The fact that she's able to even pack things away of Damien shows me that she's taken that next step forward. You know, things are starting to change for her.
The builders break through.
Got it?
It's so open and light.
And a bigger, brighter home starts to appear, along with a more decisive Lindsay. I'm thrilled to see her making quick, cost-effective decisions on the decor.
Paint, paint, paint. I'm surprising myself, really. Barley white, apricot white. Sounds more like a recipe. I'm really desperate to get this nailed, actually. I mean, I quite like this one. I'm fine, I'm not rattled about it anymore. What's this nutmeg white?
The nutmeg white, yeah?
Yeah, that might work.
Lindsay's turned out to be a textbook home improver. She does her research, sets a budget, sticks to it, and knows exactly what she's buying. I'm very impressed.
Ed and Louise are struggling a bit, though. They've got no money left for their interiors. So I've brought them to this beautiful family home built in 1917 to inspire them with some cunning solutions.
So yeah, what do you think of this?
It's beautiful.
Pretty amazing.
The house is packed with great-looking but inexpensive furniture.
Quite a lot of bits of furniture, which actually really aren't that amazing. But by painting them up, especially if you paint them with more than one colour, it sort of works in the context of where they are. Because at the moment, the main priority is
Cost control, isn't it? For the price of a pot of paint and some handles, you can breathe new life into almost any piece of furniture. I think you can unify your space without spending much money. So with this unit here and the cupboard, the colours have been pulled through. I think what's very clever about this is that you've got quite nice pieces of furniture and then not a particularly exciting piece of furniture that's been stripped down. But by mixing them all together, mean that you can kind of get away with it. The great news is that designer looks don't have to have designer price tags. I'm hoping Ed and Louise make good use of this cost-cutting tip. Just 11 weeks after work started, I'm on my way to check out Lindsay's new kitchen diner. When I first met Lindsay, she was really nervous. I was a bit worried about how she would get on with the build, but she's done it, and I can't wait to see what she's created. Hello, how are you?
Right, thanks.
Good to see you.
You too.
I'm dying to see it all finished. For 10 years, Lindsay struggled with a tiny galley kitchen and a cramped dining area. They were so unsuited to her height that she couldn't even see out of her kitchen windows. Lindsay didn't want to move, nor could she afford to buy a bigger house. So she decided to extend and try and create the perfect space for entertaining. Oh my goodness. Wow. Now it's an elegant and contemporary kitchen diner with carefully zoned living and cooking areas. She's really picked up cleverly on the design ideas we talked about. So you've got this lower hob here. This works well for you at this height, doesn't
Yes, it does. I decided to go for them all in a line rather than the sort of normal 4 setup, so I wasn't having to even lean over.
How amazing!
This is brilliant because I can actually use this without, again, the box.
Brilliant. It's brilliant because you've got this sink, which is perfect for you to use for everything, really, but then the other sink makes it feel like it's a completely standard kitchen. And
I didn't want it to look modified.
The split-level surfaces are a touch of genius and make this a kitchen that could work for anyone. The increased floor space gives Lindsay lots of low-level storage, and she solved the problem of hard-to-reach cupboards.
We've got some pull-down units.
We saw these in the showroom, didn't we? That's great. So why did you decide to not go for the automated one?
Just too expensive, out of budget.
Well, you've ended up with a truly magnificent kitchen anyway. Lindsay has transformed 2 cramped and uninspiring rooms into a party pad. She's doubled her floor space, but the overall effect feels even bigger. How do you feel about what you've achieved?
I didn't ever think I could do this. And I'm sitting in it. And it's far better than what I ever thought it was going to be.
And the sums work. To sell her £190,000 house and move to a new house with the same living space as she now has, Lindsay would have had to find an extra £100,000. But by extending her kitchen diner, she's ended up with the space she needs for just £40,000, less than half the cost. So spectacular what you've done. I think it would easily be worth £250,000 now. So you've got a big lump of equity.
Bonus.
So when's the socialising beginning?
Today.
Oh,
this
today?
evening. Lindsay! Nice to see you.
What Lindsay's achieved is phenomenal. Not only has she opened up her house and made it spectacular.
Flipping heck. It's fantastic, Lindsay.
She's opened up emotionally. Brought people back into her life after a really tricky 10 years. It's been an absolute privilege to be involved in the journey that Lindsay's been on, because this story is about so much more than bricks and mortar. Five months ago, Ed and Louise began an ambitious project to double the size of their country cottage on a budget of £150,000. To get the space they wanted has cost them more than they could have imagined.
It was all about the dream. Now suddenly it's about the reality of how we're going to afford to do this.
And they've had to make sacrifices.
We're going to sell the car.
They've also each had to take out further bank loans. I only hope their new extension doesn't end up costing them more than it's worth. They're now doing all they can to cut costs. They're holding a painting party with friends to complete the inside, saving £8,000. And Louise is upcycling old furniture, all for the cost of a can of paint. A tenner well spent.
Hopefully it looks similar to what Sarah was showing us. That's the theory anyway.
For more information about extending your home or increasing your floor space, check out my scrapbook at channel4.com/Sarah.
Ed and Louise bought their country cottage with the romantic idea of doubling its size and turning it into their dream home. But it didn't always look like the greatest of purchases, considering the fact that from day one it's been a total money pit.
There we go, Jack.
You keep it to Katie. Hi.
How are you doing? Good to see you.
It's looking brilliant.
Five months ago, Ed and Louise's Victorian cottage was pretty but tiny. Now it's transformed into a substantial and spectacular country home.
When I first came here, I did think that the house ought to be the other way up, which isn't a conventional way of living, but it means that you'd have access from the living space straight into the garden and you'd get the benefit of the view, and then the bedrooms would be downstairs. Is that something that you thought again about at all?
Yeah, definitely. I think when we put the windows in at the back of the house and suddenly you could see the garden, we thought, wow, we could really see what you were saying and how great it would be. If we had more money and more time, then it would have been a great solution, definitely.
The good news is they've seamlessly combined the old and new parts of the house's exterior, using colour to link the woodwork. It works beautifully. But how have they coped with the challenging layout of the period interior?
Oh my goodness, look at this!
The ground floor of the cottage had low ceilings and tiny rooms. They've knocked down the end wall and extended out, creating a huge open-plan kitchen diner and a separate playroom for Katie and Jack, with huge windows framing their beautiful countryside setting.
Oh, that's really wonderful, isn't it?
It's a bit different to what it was.
Yeah.
From the inside, this is totally believable as one original house.
Absolutely, yeah. We just didn't want to feel like an add-on or make a sort of uncomfortable transition from old to new.
The space works so well. Now, when you talked about having a top-end kitchen, you actually were really serious, weren't you? This is gorgeous.
Gorgeous, but costly. The price tag on the kitchen was a staggering £25,000, and they've carried this high spec throughout the house. Upstairs originally felt pokey and claustrophobic, but by adding sliding doors, they created more space and flexibility.
I'm hoping you put the office up here.
Ed and Louise originally planned to have this as a cramped guest room, but they've turned it into an open-plan study and put in an ingenious folding wall so that it can still double as a bedroom. This will be worth about 30 grand on the value of a house like this.
To me, it makes such a difference, I think, to have this big landing which has a great sense of space. It makes the whole house feel bigger.
Yeah, we would never have thought of doing it until you suggested kind of making it all open plan here.
Brilliant.
The way you've ended up doing it is a really fantastic compromise, and you've ended up with all the best of all the worlds, really.
I'm blown away by the transformation Ed and Louise have made here. But have they managed to double their space for half the cost of moving to that dream house?
You originally planned on spending $150,000 on this, and you didn't really manage to stick to it, did you?
Unfortunately not.
What did you end up spending?
I think it's closer to 200 in the end.
Yeah.
So that's quite a lot over budget. To move to a house double this size that you'd have liked to live in, you'd have had to find another £340,000.
Let's look at the sums. They couldn't afford the £340,000 needed to move to their bigger dream house. they've managed to get the same amount of space and add loads of ultra-high spec extras on top for £200,000. That's still £140,000 less than it would have cost them to move.
So actually, your quid's in. This house was worth £500,000 when you started, and you spent £200,000 doing the work, so that's £700,000. And now it would be really reasonable to suppose that you would be able to get £900,000 for it. So actually, you've created £200,000 of equity in your house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which has got to feel good, hasn't it?
Yeah, too much.
They've doubled their space and their investment. An amazing achievement.
Have you learned anything about yourselves through this project?
I think it's made us really a lot stronger as people, and we've had confidence in our abilities that we can achieve anything if we put our minds to it.
Yeah. Certainly as a team, probably one thing I'd say, I wouldn't do it on your own. No way.
Finally, I want to examine what Team Croft Baker have done with that 2-metre drop outside. They've come up with a fun idea to get the kids from top to bottom.
I'm loving your slide. That's fantastic.
It's great, isn't it? We were just thinking, rather than just managing danger, how can we create something that's also great fun for the children as well? I mean, we tend to find everyone in a garden goes down the slide.
I think this is a brilliant solution. And it's not just for the kids.
Whoa, that's a brilliant slide. This build has had its ups and downs. They've spent more than they budgeted for and haven't necessarily helped themselves along the way. But they've got the space they needed and they've added a massive load of equity to their home. This truly is a dream home.
Next time, can I get the Siddiquis to change their minds about what I think is a potty idea?
Grandad was sitting doing a poo, so they're sitting there and they can wave.
And Louise has big plans to double her bathrooms to a hotel-worthy 7.
Very dirty, your family.